What's up, Jada Gang? It's your girl Jada Diamonds here, back with another video. And today we are about to do my September reading wrap up. We're gonna also talk about a couple of little that girl purchases that I've made, and we're gonna get into what I'm currently reading so far. So if you want to stick around, you should. Also, if you would like to subscribe, I suggest that you do so. Also, please give this video a like and check out some of my other videos, girl or guy. All right, I'm a very interesting person, and I might start unlocking some of my other videos that I've made in the past. But for now, the only thing that's available is reading videos. But I've done so many other videos. So yeah, just sit back, relax, grab a drink. I have a little cocktail here and a little champagne flute. And I'm pulling up my stats just to see. I have my current reads here. So let's start with the book that got me out of my reading slump. I also have a reading vlog of this bad boy. All right, so we have The Story of a New Name by Elena Ferrante. It's pronounced Elena. That is the Italian pronunciation. The English pronunciation is Elena, but it's Elena. So Elena Ferrante's second installment of her Neapolitan series. This is The Story of a New Name. It continues on with the discussion and the overarching plot of Leela and Leela and Lenu, or Leela and Elena, and it just tells us more and more about the two girls and where they are in life. Spoiler alert, if you have not read book one, Leela does get married. She gets married to Stefano. No. Don't let me butcher nothing, okay? But she does get married. And so a lot of this book is it's Nino. She marries Nino. And a lot of this book, it's Stefano. She marries Stefano. And a lot of this book is about what's going on in Leela's marriage. And a lot of this book is us seeing Elena kind of bloom and blossom into a flower, and we just watch her grow into her own and get her own ideas and continue on with education and writing and just fulfilling things that she wanted to fulfill outside of Leela's shadow, because as you do know, that Leela is always discussed and given to us and painted as the more beautiful person, the more beautiful friend. And so we just get more of Elena in this story. And so it just is what it is with this. If you don't read the first one, you won't understand. If you don't read the first one, you really won't get it. So yeah, anyway, it got me out of my reading slump. So, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Moving on, because this was August, so I only read one book in August. However, I read a total of 7 books in September, and I'm going to start with my first September read, which I do not have it physically because it was a library book. So my first September read was My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell. My Dark Vanessa is fiction and literary. It's contemporary, and it is about a girl named Vanessa who begins or starts to have a relationship with her teacher at her boarding school, and it's very dark. It's dark. Okay, it's My Dark Vanessa. It's a very dark book. I have a reading blog on it, and there I am really specific. I go into detail about the story, about my feelings as far as the story is concerned, about the ideas present and the themes. So here I'm going to be kind of light about the book or about the story, but it was a 4 out of 5 for me. It's very deep and dark. It juxtaposes, or it presents to us, different themes that are present in Lolita. Lolita by Nabokov is referenced heavily in this novel. You can tell it was the central, what do you say? It was the central, not theme, but muse for Russell's idea about this book. You just can tell. And so with the story, like I said, it just follows the ins and outs of being a victim, and like how being a victim is never ending, and like she's guilty sometimes she just thinks that it was a consenting relationship, but you can never have a consenting relationship with an adult when you're a kid. Okay, it's not how it works. And so it just goes back and forth. It goes from present day to back in the day, and it just shows how he groomed her, how he lied to her, and how he did it to others. And that's really all I want to say about it. Let's leave that book in September, because it was a doozy to get through and a doozy to read, and I really liked it a lot. But I'm glad that it's over, type shit. Okay. So next we will go to the next book that I read. I also do not have a physical copy of this book, but I read Don't You Forget About Me by Vari McFarlane. It is a contemporary chick lit romance novel, like I said, by Vari McFarlane. And I read this book alongside my Dark Vanessa, just so I could have, a little hope. So I can have a little hope, a little happiness, a little lighthearted something, because my Dark Vanessa was such a heavy read. So I was reading them both at the same time, and it worked well for me. Don't You Forget About Me follows, I forgot the main character, but it follows this main character who is 30 or 30 something, like on her way to being 30, or she might be like 30 or 31. And she's just like a Bridget Jones-esque character. You can tell that Bridget Jones was like the muse for this book. And she is British, and it's about a story where she had a love when they were in high school, and it follows, it doesn't say at first why they broke up, but he was like the love of her life in high school. And then he comes back into the picture years and years and years later, as she becomes a bartender / manager of his brother's new bar. And so he comes in the picture, and he actually does not remember her at all, or so she thinks. And so we just go through the story, and we find out what happens and why they broke up, and how she felt about him, how he felt about her, and just like over time, I guess I can say he starts to remember her, or we find out why he chose to pretend like he didn't remember her. And it was so good. It was really unputdownable. And like I said, when you're reading such a dark story, it's really nice to like couple it with a lighthearted, fun story as well, just to like get your mind like, out of that and into something more, happy or whatever. So it was good. That was a 5 out of 5 for me, because deep down inside, I really like romance. Romance movies are my jam. So reading romance books is kind of like I'm slowly dabbling into them. I don't want to dwell in that space, as I do enjoy contemporary literary fiction novels. So yeah, those were just my first 2 to start the month off. Now I wanted to go into one of my favorite reads so far of the year, and of course of September. It's Milkman by Anna Burns, which is the Man Booker Prize winner in 2018, and I absolutely loved this book. Absolutely positively loved this book. I read this book alongside the audiobook, which gave me the vernacular that I was looking for, because it was very, very hard to like figure out how she was trying to portray this book to you, or how you were supposed to read it, because of the language. And once I got the language going, as you can see, tabbed up, it's magnificent. It's wonderful. It follows a story of an unnamed narrator in an unnamed city that we do know is in Ireland, Northern Ireland. And it is following this 19-year-old girl who is her name is Middle Sister, and it follows her. It's not a Bills the Roman because we don't really get any parts of her coming of age, but we get a lot about her feelings of what she's going through at the time. The times that we are in this novel is called the Troubles. The Troubles was the Northern Ireland conflict, because I have my notes here. The Troubles, aka the Northern Ireland conflict, lasted 30 years, known as the Irregular Low-Level War from 1960, and it ended in 1998. And this story is roughly the mid to late 70s. Anyway, it follows her as she is pursued by this character named Milkman, who is middle-aged, married, and clearly, it does not state it, but he is in the IRA. And you have to do your own research on the IRA and what that was and what that stood for at that time. But he is like stalking her and like trying to pursue her. And he comes up to her one day when she's on a run, because she's a runner and a walker. Frequently walks, runs, and walks and reads and all those things. And he is like presenting himself to her in a way to where you know that he is trying to like make her like maybe his mistress or something like that. And it just follows her ideas about it and how she feels and how gossip ensues and how people don't even know the real deal of what's going on, and they're judging her because of what it looks like on the outside. No one's asking her what it is or how she feels about it. Everyone is basically telling her what they think that they know, instead of listening to her say, I don't even know this man. He just came up to me one day, and yeah. So it just follows that. And it's really a good story. I'm not going to go in depth once again because I did do a reading vlog over this as well. I absolutely love this novel. This novel was really an amazing read, and I really think that you should read it. This is 10 out of 10. I highly recommend, and I think about this book often. Next book I read after that was Strange Weather in Tokyo. Now, this is also a magnificent story. By the way, it's 5 out of 5. Anna Burns, she was 5 out of 5. You guys, Strange Weather in Tokyo was so beautiful. Okay, this story is by Hiromi Kawakami. It's called Strange Weather in Tokyo, published in 2012. It is translated fiction from the Japanese. Originally, it was called The Briefcase, and it follows two characters. Our main character's name is Tetsukiku or Tsukiku, and her old teacher, his name is Matsumoto, but we call him Sensei. She calls him Sensei. And it's just very intriguing. And it follows this is what you call an unlikely romance, because it does not specifically state that they were, or that it is. This book does not present itself as a romance, but it is one in hindsight. It's a romance, and it follows this lonely woman who is 38 years old, and just like her day-to-day meandering movements through life. Not really depressed, but she is moving through the world just regularly. We'll call her a lonely woman moving through the world. Everybody isn't depressed, like this whole depressed woman moving situation. No, she's just a lonely woman moving, who frequently goes to this same bar that she sees her professor that used to teach her in high school. Only he recognizes her first, and she forgets his name, and so she calls him Sensei. And it just follows the unlikely relationship that they start to have. And it's really beautiful, gorgeous writing. There's so many beautiful lines in this story that I just can go on and on about this book. 5 out of 5. Also, I did a reading vlog on this book by itself. It's beautiful. It's nice and short and sweet. And I go into depth about quotes from the story. I talk about my feelings about the story overall when it's finished. Like, I do a whole wrap up. Like, my reading vlogs are like this. They goes, I read the story, read certain chapters, talk to you about the chapters, underline certain quotes, discuss the quotes, and when I'm done, I give you an overall synopsis or brief synopsis of my feelings and emotions about the story. So I highly suggest watching that if you're interested in Strange Weather in Tokyo. It's beautiful. It's really, 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 really beautiful, and 5 out of 5. Next, I read another story on Scribd. I do have a Scribd account, and I started the Living Autobiographies by Deborah Levy, and I did read Things I Don't Want to Know. All right, so Things I Don't Want to Know by Deborah Levy is her first installment of her living autobiography, where we go through her early childhood days in Johannesburg, South Africa, and we learn about the arrest of her father, who was a political activist against apartheid during that time, and how that affected her, and how she had to then be moved to living with her mom's best friend, and the things that she learned from that experience, whether it relates to her mom's best friend, her mom's best friend's daughter, and her mom's best friend's husband, their dynamic, and the dynamic between her housekeeper slash babysitter and her babysitter's daughter, who are African and they're from the other part of Africa, and just the moving parts that paint the portrait of who you could possibly become as you grow and as you get older. And it was really, really beautifully written. I loved it very much, to the point where I listened to it again. And yeah, it was very short. It probably took 1 hour and 30 minutes for me to read through, and so I really enjoyed it, and that's really all for that one. But after reading Things I Don't Want to Know, I also read The Cost of Living, which is the second installment of Deborah Levy's living autobiography, and this one hit different. Also, these books are on writing, so they're on the mind, they're on writing, they're on feelings, emotions, and just like what it is to be a woman, what it is to be a human living in a world. And so with The Cost of Living, that one goes into her life being married and subsequently going through a divorce. So, well, not quite the divorce. I'm kidding. No, that's not it. So the divorce is the last one, and I'm not done with that one. That one is real estate. So The Cost of Living is like marriage and motherhood early on. No, that's real estate. That's real estate. I'm reading real estate now. The Cost of Living is painting the portrait of when she moved to either the United Kingdom or London. She moves to London, and just how that looked, and how her parents, when her father finally was released from prison, they tried to make it work for a little while, but then they divorced. And so how things looked being with her mom, and sometimes being with her dad, and also being in a new country and becoming a writer. And it was about her writing Hot Milk, which I do plan on reading Hot Milk sometime in the future. I don't know if I'll make it to Hot Milk by the end of this year, because my autumn to winter TBR is really ambitious, and I have a lot of books that I'm trying to get in before the end of the year. But yeah, The Cost of Living, it's really something, y'all. It's really hard to discuss it and hard to talk about it without giving a lot of it away. It's also short. It's about 3.5 hours. But yeah, it's about her growing up and like transitioning from teenager to adult, and honing in on her writing and understanding life, and how life is going to now look, and how people are, and how people be, how you are supposed to be, and how you are supposed to write, and how those experiences shape your writing life and your reading life. And so it's very insightful, and she's a very, 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 very knowledgeable woman, and her writing is very beautiful, and I really highly recommend the Living Autobiographies by Deborah Levy. The next book that I read in September was Cleopatra and Frankenstein. With Cleo and Frankenstein, The Cost of Living is a 5 out of 5. With Cleopatra and Frankenstein, this book started off very strong. Very strong. I think if it was a movie, I would have loved the movie, but I did not love this book. I did not love this book. I did a reading vlog on this book as well. Go and watch that if you want to watch that. It's also very, very good. I love the way that I talk about books. I think you would like the way that I talk about books as well. But anyway, just trying to shamelessly plug myself here. I did not like this. With Cleopatra and Frankenstein, I did state in my reading vlog that for a first go round, this book was awesome, but I also read how long it took her to write this, and so if it took you 7 years, it should have been a tad bit better. Whoever edited this book, I feel like whoever edited it, whoever mentored her through the book, I feel like they could have definitely told her that she needed to flush out characters. I'm sure that there are some things that I don't know that goes into this, and also like with writing, it is so subjective. You know what I'm saying? Her ideas about why she didn't go into more detail about the friendships and like how the friends who were on drugs, or the friend who was like in the Weight Watcher group, or Eleanor, or I'm sure there are reasons why she didn't feel like it was important, because in hindsight, the story is about Cleo and Frank. I know that, but if you're going to introduce some themes, I feel like those themes need to be flushed out better than what they were. Like, don't even talk about them if you're not going to really go into depth a little bit about what's going on and like how they could be better or how they had gotten worse. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just feel like certain things like that in the book just weren't given enough attention. And that's what made the book fall extremely flat to me. And she gave so much emphasis to the arguments that Cleo and Frank were going through. It's just, I don't know, y'all. I didn't love it. 3 out of 5. 3 out of 5 stars, because it did have a strong start. Like, from chapter 1 to like, I say from chapter 1 to like chapter 6, it was good. Then it started to decline after that, and I really didn't like this, okay? And that's why I don't even want to talk about it anymore. And then finally, was that 7 books? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, I talked about all 7 books. And yeah, I think that's it. I was gonna show you guys some of my It Girl purchases, but this video is going on 25 minutes, okay? So I think I'm gonna wrap it up here and just insert or come in another video just about my little recent purchases and like some freaking books that I've hauled. I've gotten more books. That these are definitely gonna be 2023 books for sure, because of all the other books that are on my desk that I have to get to this year. I hope you guys enjoyed this September wrap up. I have not did a reading wrap up since like February, March. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in my next upload. Deuces.